Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the To Hull and Back podcast, sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Old Zoological. And for some reason, Ant's laughing through the intro. Did I do something wrong? I hope not.
I tried to scran one last second pizza before the video finished, and it didn't quite work.
And it didn't work. It was a very unprofessional start from Ant. But I'm also joined by Will and myself, your host Nathaniel, who will try and keep the podcast together with Ant just eating on their job. That's not good. But before the episode or the last episode, we were discussing that looking ahead to these two difficult fixtures, Coventry and Burnley, 2 draws would be a positive result in both of those. We got 1 draw against Coventry and then we lost against Burnley last night. So Will, I'll go to you first. Over the course of these 2 games, were you surprised at how things went, and are you relatively, not too disappointed by, no wins in those 2 games?
I'm not too disappointed at all. Coventry, I felt, was a draw. The result was a draw. Both teams had enough chances themselves to score. It probably should have been a higher scoring draw, let's be honest. But Burnley was going into it was a free hit for me. I'd have been happy getting anything out of it. And I was happy enough with the performance, and the performance was good against a team that's cruising back to the Premier League.
I think cruising is the right word.
I don't know what you can say about them. They're that good.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the best Championship teams. Not just that we've played, but in Championship history. I think there was at one point a few weeks ago that maybe they'll break the record. I don't know whether they're going to do that now.
They still can.
Blackpool, but they could do. They could do. And of course, Coventry, another solid team as well, not quite as good as Burnley. So, Ant, what are your general thoughts on a draw and a defeat this week?
I think it's about what we expected. Coventry were in form heading into our game and hadn't lost many at home. So it was always going to be a tough place to go to, and we'd have all took a point. We got a point, and it was a good performance, and could have even nicked more in the end. But obviously, Burnley, again, all you could have asked for is a good performance, and I think we got that. I think 3-1 in the end flatters them, and I think Burnley fans have been admitting that. We've been getting a lot of praise from them. I think they've had a bit of frustration this season because a lot of teams just tend to park the bus against them and don't really try and play any football, but they're rather... obviously, they praise the fact that we actually tried to play some football and go at them. So, obviously, they ended up winning 3-1. But I think that was more of a case of, poor defending and individual errors that led to that rather than them blowing us away. So, and on another day, we could have nicked a couple of extra goals, if it was poor finishing. So, frustrating in the sense that we probably could have got more from the league leaders. But, like we say, overall, a draw and a loss against these 2 teams, I think, is what we expected.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think when you have 2 games in a week, you can start to spot a few trends. And I wrote down in the notes that the second half at Coventry, we were much better. The first half wasn't too great, similar to the West Brom game. We started quite slowly, then we had a lot of chances in the second half. And I think I've written that in my notes for the Burnley game as well. So I think maybe that's the reason why we haven't really done really well in these 2 games, is that we're not putting in a 90-minute performance. And I think in a way, somehow we played better against Burnley, but didn't get the 3 points. So I think second halves were much better. One thing that happened very early on in the first game, because we'll go chronologically, was Tete started. Of course, we're very happy to see him start after screwing against West Brom and another injury. So, I don't know what there is more to say about City players getting injured this season, but can you find anything new to say about this issue?
No.
No, I didn't think so, to be honest.
It's getting a bit sad, especially because Tete had such a good once he returned. He was clearly playing so well, and straight away, pretty much injured and back out pretty much the rest of the season now. We're back for probably the last couple of games at best. But,
not really much point playing.
He was doing so well. It's just such a shame.
Yeah, and would you agree that he was playing well, and then it's just a tale of the season, isn't it? Really, it's why we're not going to be getting into the playoffs, really.
Yeah, we've just had we haven't had a consistent 11 all season. We tend to get a player who hits form or looks good, and then we lose them to either injury or suspension. And you can just imagine how frustrated Rosenior is, because it's clear that Tete has great ability and would have been a great asset in the games that we had left, especially with his hold-up ability and giving us a bit of a plan B when we get pressed high, which I think at the moment is the only problem with Rosini's tactical approach, is that when teams realise that they can sort of squeeze us to a mistake at the back, we don't have an outlet to counter that. So with Tete, we had it and then lost it so quickly. It's like, we've seen glimpses of what he can do, and we're really, really optimistic about what he can bring to the team. And for whatever reason, he just can't stay fit. And, hamstring suggests maybe that he's, overstretched maybe on his run because he nearly got slid through, didn't he? That's when he pulled up. But yeah, really frustrating. Same with Coyle in the Burnley game. These injuries have really disrupted the games as well. I thought Tete, obviously at Coventry, we had a game plan and that went straight out the window within the first half. And then with Coyle, again, we've got no fit right back, so we had to stick poor Doc there. So, it's a very, very frustrating season, and you can just imagine Rosinius pulling his hair out behind the scenes and probably trying to figure out why. And I can expect the players are going to have a long grueling pre-season, I think, in terms of running, because they'll need to build up some muscle and fitness, definitely, for the high press that he wants to do next year.
I agree.
The Burnley game would have been interesting if it had been Tete up front instead of Pelkas, I think. Very interesting the way we were playing.
Yeah, I think Pelkas came under a bit of criticism. He was playing in that false nine role, and I'm not really sure that that's his best position. Although,
it's not. It was more being played there out of trying something new, wasn't it? Really, Liam?
Yeah, I guess it's a free hit. Why not try something new against Burnley rather than anyone else in a game? Perhaps you really need to get 3 points. But then I guess one positive, that Tete came off, Oscar came on and scored perhaps his best goal for City. Exactly the sort of thing that I've been complaining about him, and a lot of people have, that, when he gets into that position on the edge of the box, he usually doesn't score. He had a big chance against Burnley, which he didn't take, but the one against Coventry was really nice. Weak foot, top corner, taking it around the defender. So, and it's exactly the sort of impact we thought. I hoped that him being subbed against West Brom and not starting, being dropped, and then perhaps going on to the next game, and when he gets his chance, showing that he wants to get into the team and score. Of course, he doesn't actually have any rival players to get into the team now because Tete and Connolly are both injured, and Pelkas hasn't played very well. But and is that Oscar's best goal so far, do you think?
Yeah, I think it was just inside the box. I think I thought it was outside from where I was sat, but I think it was just
he's still never going to do that.
He's still not scored from outside the box.
It couldn't have been more top corner than that.
No, it was a great finish, especially with his weak foot. I mean, it's interesting that Tete did it with his weak foot the game before, and then Oscar went and did it with his weak foot against Coventry. But it's good for him to get that goal because, like we say, he seems to score in patches, and he'd gone a while without scoring. So for him to be dropped and then come back, obviously take his chance after Tete's injury and get a goal straight back in the team will do him the world of good for confidence and the world of good for us for the rest of the season. Because if he goes on a run now where he scores, there's not many games left, so he could finish on. I mean, he's probably got 20 goals in his sights. What's he, 7 goals off, 10 games left?
Yeah, I don't see him doing that.
But it, won't he? 15 minimum.
Gets another hat trick.
Fair season, isn't it? Free signing from the Portuguese league, getting 15 goals in his first season would be good. I think that's what he should aim for. But yeah, no, he took that goal well, and hopefully, like we say, he gets a couple more in the games left.
Yeah. I mean, I think 15-goal season strike is what most teams cry out for, and even though we haven't really done enough to get into the top 6 this season, having him up front is exactly the sort of thing we wanted last year. And relegation-wise, we've not really ever been in a huge relegation battle, especially since Rossini came in.
It just shows, doesn't it, that if we're going to end the season with what you would assume, I would put money on him finishing on at least 15. But it shows that if you aren't anywhere near the top 6 and you've got a striker that scored 15 plus, it just shows that you haven't got enough goals anywhere else in the team. And I don't think it's really our fault this season because, like we say, the players that you'd look to score, your likes of Aliar, Tete, Pelkas, they've all been injured for large periods of the season. That he's kind of had to shoulder the burden on his own, hasn't he? And Tufan, considering he's in and out the team, to be on 5 goals is impressive as well from midfield. So and he could have so many more if you put it anywhere but the middle of the goal at the keeper all the time. So we're a very nearly team, aren't we? You look at some of these players and you just think, if we'd have had a fully fit squad this season, what could we have done? or if we didn't have that horrific run under Shotta. It's just going to be a season where you look back on and just say, what if? And it's quite frustrating, isn't it? But optimistic for next season, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think really we've been sort of hindered by the fact that we didn't have a good manager for half the season. Dawson came in and steadied the boat a little bit. But yeah, the football under Shotta was nowhere near as good as Rossini. I mean, how many goals do you think our team now would put past a Shotta team early in the season? It would be complete, complete domination, wouldn't it? It would be men against boys, to use a good idiom. It wouldn't be a pleasant thing to watch for us if we were the fans for the old version of City. But some of the football we played against Coventry in that period, we got the first goal, then Ebuwe had a big chance. Kyle had one over the bar. Tufan scored a lovely header, which was offside. So I think maybe looking at those chances, maybe we could have won it. I mean, we both said a draw was a fair result. I think it would have been really helpful to get another win. But one thing I'd like to just point out, because we've been saying the playoffs has been over for weeks and weeks, but on the commentary, James Fletcher, the commentator, was saying, they really need to get that winning goal to get back into the playoff hunt. Give it a rest, mate. It's over. It's been gone for weeks and weeks. So, I guess
Fletcher's doing his job. He's got to make it exciting.
Exactly.
What you see, the thing is that's the mindset Rosini will have. He's an ambitious coach.
And it is the mindset Rosini has.
As long as it's mathematically possible, he will continue to say, why can't we get the top six? And all it takes, for example, like we're only saying really now that it's done because it's unlikely that we're going to go on a run of 3 or 4 wins. But if we do, you're back in it. So it's just we're going on the realistic nature that it's unlikely we will do so because of how inconsistent we've been and the lack of goals that we've got at the minute. But it's still there. It's like a little enticing carrot, but I think it's just going to be out of our reach, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we'd have to win something like 6 or 7 of the last 9 to even get close to the playoffs.
Well, considering we're playing the teams above us, you probably wouldn't need to because you'd be gaining ground with each win you had. If you won 3 or 4 on the bounce, you're right back in it, aren't you, for the running?
Of course, it makes it more difficult to get those wins because they are higher than you. But it's the right attitude to have, and it's exactly the attitude you want the players to have. It annoyed me ever so slightly, but you usually just do a very good job. And then we haven't won in away from home in like 4 or 5 games, so it's just frustrating. I think someone said it on the last episode. We never seem to get that home and away form at the same time, but hopefully that's something the senior can work on going into next season. Ebuwe, that big chance he put across. I don't want to say to him too much because he had a fantastic game against Burnley, but
I was going to say, can we go on against Burnley instead?
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's do that because I think that was a solid point away from home. Shame to concede and not keep another clean sheet, but a draw, very solid. But then Burnley, as you said, a free hit. So do you want to just wax lyrical about Ebuwe because I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, I thought it was really important for him to put that kind of performance in because, since coming, he's not really obviously shown what kind of player that he can be. Liam Rosini said that he was his, top target for January, so he must have something about him. And he's come into some really tricky away games where we've been under the cosh and not playing well, so he's not really had the platform to really express himself. And I thought. He's gone into this Burnley game. He obviously looks a bit more match sharp. He looks more fit, and he's just gone. No, do you know what? I'm going to go for it. And I thought all game he had Maatsen on toast. I think Maatsen was really worried about whatever threat Ebuwe carried whenever he ran at him. Like we say, if we had, I think there was sometimes the players were stuck in 2 minds whether or not to run up and support him and get into the box and commit men forward, but risk being countered. And there were some times where he had the ball in a really good position and he put the ball in the box and there was nobody there. So it had been quite frustrated. He was desperate for a goal. Towards the end, he kept shooting from like the outside of the box and he trying to curl one into the top corner. And you can see now his confidence is growing. I'd like to see him start in the next game because I think he will. That. Yeah, and I'm hoping that he has a similar because if he does similar against Reading, he'll probably score. And It's interesting because I think we'll probably go for him on loan again next season. He's unlikely to play for Palace. Maybe if they go down, he'll play. But I think we'll go for him again next season. And it'd be good for him to get a good run of games now to show us what he can do to get us excited to have him next season with a full pre-season with Rossi in the squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, that's exactly the sort of performance we expected from a player that was the top transfer target for Rossini, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well, Rossini was on about him in November, not even in January. He was on about him back during the World Cup break. So he showed how much he was after him, and obviously it took him a bit of time to get involved, but I think that's because of fitness. But like I say, he looks on it now. And it's not just him either. Adama Traore finally starting a game, and he was superb in that midfield.
Yeah. I mean, for the first start he's had in men's football in well over a year, I think something like 13, maybe even 14 months. He looked really sharp, and he was going round players quite easily. He won quite a few fouls, Jack Grealish-esque. So having all those players like Epiway and Traore that can go past players with their pace and their skill was really exciting. And just thinking, I mean, I thought Aliar played really well. He had a really great cross to Pelkas. I mean, the sort of cross Oscar or Tete would love, and it just, we didn't have that player, that, aerial presence to score the goal. But just thinking about it, I'm surprised we lost the game now because all our players seem to do really well, especially going forward. But we did win the game on expected goals. Of course, that means pretty much nothing. But and it was of course, that doesn't really matter if you're going to make those defensive mistakes. So one big question was Elder, the first goal, was he fouled?
No, he wasn't.
I don't think
for me,
so.
If you're an opposition fan and that's given against you, you're all right. You're irate. He's not put enough on him. He's misjudged the header, and if it only required that small touch to make him miss out, then he mistimed it. It was. He's just got to own it, really, and he shouldn't have stood there appealing. He should have got straight back up and tried to track back as well. That little bit of time gave Teller what he needed to be able to cut inside and obviously go around Maka and slot it in. But arguments, Darlow probably should be doing better his near post, but I think he was a bit close. It's hard to save something that low, isn't it? But no, it's not a foul for me. I also think the marking between Maka and Elder was poor for the second, and then obviously Greaves with the obscene pass for.
Oh, what the fuck was he doing?
Great assist for Teller and the third goal, but maybe they just wanted him to have an hat trick and just say, yeah, mate. But it's frustrating because, like you say, when you're against a side like that and you play so well, and the 3 goals were preventable, I think is the main point of that. You're coming away from it disappointed that we had, a lot of clear-cut chances that we didn't take the best of, and then we've gifted them 3, and they've got 3 points. And very frustrating because we could have really made a statement there with a win. But take positives out of it. We didn't really expect to win anyway, and they've come away from that thinking, well, we've had a game, so can't complain too much, I suppose. But the errors do need to be cut out next season because it's been a problem all year, hasn't it?
Are we the only team that scored against Burnley both games?
No, but Tufan is the only player to score against him in both games. I spent far too long trying to work that out using various, statistics websites. But no, I think a few teams have scored against them twice. But most of the teams that have scored against them are yet to play them again. So it isn't really that impressive a statistic. But yeah, we've scored 2 goals against Burnley, and not everyone can say that. So, silver lining, and thought it was a really good finish from Tufan. Of course, it didn't matter, and he did try to put it straight at the keeper, as he tends to do. I know you said that earlier, and but it's good to see him get another goal. So
I mean, I think he was trying to decapitate Muric.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Fletcher always goes on about striking the ball with vengeance, and I'm sure he would have said it, after that goal because he does love that phrase. And
I disagree. I think it was an important goal because I think
it was the performance deserved it.
Yeah, confidence-wise, it'd be demoralising for him to sit there on the back of a 3-0 defeat when playing so well, and I think getting that goal at the end. Rossini will have said to them, look, you played really well today. The mistakes were silly. We need to cut them out. But well done for keep on going to the end. 93 minutes you carried on against the best side in the league and one of the best sides this league will see. Taking confidence into Reading, I think it's quite an important goal.
Yeah. Next goal wins. maybe we deserve to win
goal,
it.
we win 1-0.
Golden goal, yeah. So, I mean, I thought Traore, Ebiwe, Aliar were all pretty good. Tufan got an important goal. I thought Longman actually did very well when he came on. He always does, but he did particularly well. Some good crosses and had a lot of shots. So, and he did help, that goal. He did pass it to he got the pre-assist to Doherty. So it was nice to see that. It's, of course, it's not a real thing. It's just describing what happened.
It's like XG. It's not a real thing.
Well, XG is a real thing, but
that'll be the next Opta stat to come out.
Yeah. It's a shame we didn't take those chances. Yeah. So shall we move on to Reading? Because I think after that performance against Burnley, I think we've got a very decent chance of going to Reading, who are just one place below us. We're 15th, which I think is a little disappointing that we're 15th. I feel like we deserve to be a tiny bit higher than that. But they're 16th. They've lost the last 4 games. So, Ant, how do you expect this one to go at the... I don't know what the stadium is. I'm going to call it the Medeski.
It's the Select Car Leasing Stadium now.
Oh, that doesn't sound like a fun day out.
A lot less posh than Medeski.
On paper, it's a game that we'd be earmarking for a win. But we are Hull City, and they're not doing very well. So, chances are that we won't play very well and we'll lose. But it's. I think this is an important game more for the players that are wanting to be part of this next season. I think these remaining few games now are going to have to be statements for places in this side.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few positions definitely that are up for grabs, and these are the kind of games now where you're going to want to be looking for players to really step up and take control and say, look, we're better than you, and we're going to show that. It's a tough one because you don't really want to be playing the sides that are struggling. I mean, they've got a points deduction hanging over their head at the minute, and if they get the points deduction, they're only 3 points off the bottom 3.
In big trouble.
So desperation, I think, starting to sleek in a little bit. That they're on a bad run. Fans really aren't happy with the manager and some decisions that he's making and things like that. So it's a kind of one of those bad situations we've got to try and take advantage of. Get the if you start well and get their fans against them from the off, we could probably have a good night. But it's typical City, isn't it? We might concede an awful set piece and then be chasing the game for 80 minutes, and but we have to go there and play on the front foot. We just have to, especially after how well we played against Burnley. It'd just be criminal for us to go there and get turned over, wouldn't it?
I mean, Reading owe us for that home game. Well, the referee still owed us anyway for that home game.
Oh yeah.
Well,
that was not a good day.
The Elm Park Royals podcast channel earlier doing a preview for their channel, and they really don't like us because I didn't actually realise. It's funny how you don't realise these things, but we are a bogey team for them. So despite them beating us this season, I think they've only beaten us twice in the last.
I was going to say that 15. Was a rare win.
Yeah, twice in the last 15 games or something like that. So they're really not looking forward to this game. Kind of like us with some of our bogey teams where we just expect to lose. That's the kind of mindset they're in. So again, another thing we've got to try and take advantage of and hopefully come away with a nice win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've drawn 1-1 the last 2 times we've gone there, and Wilkes got the goal. Remember Wilkes?
Yeah.
He's still the player that you see on Twitter if you go onto a Hull City game. It always shows Manic Wilkes on Twitter. 2 years ago. It's ridiculous, but no Manic Wilkes. So hopefully we're going to score.
To score from 50 yards against the keeper who just lets it through his hands.
Well, that exactly. It was a good result last season, and a good goal. Not really, but Wilkes will say it was. So
Alex, in the chat, you need to do a Wilkes klaxon. We've not had one in a while.
Yeah. But they're 7th in the home table. I know, maybe home form, away form. Maybe you don't want to read too much into that. But they have lost their last 2 home games 1-0. So I think they're definitely there for the taking. But then again, as you said, below us, they're in rubbish form. We are the team that always gives another team a win when they need it. And Tom Ince, of course, a former player, surely he's bound to score. He's their top goal scorer. So I think even though it's not on Sky, or maybe a midweek game, the fact Reading have a rubbish record against us, perhaps, the superstitious statistics aren't really looking in our favour. But I hope we get the win. But I guess who should we play for this game? I think there's Ebua, he's definitely going to play, but there are a few players I think that could be trying to start. So I guess Darwin in goal, and then who do we play at right back? Because it looks like Louis Coyle is going to be injured.
We don't know exactly yet, but
not confirmed how long he's out for, have they?
It might even be all right for the weekend. We don't know yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be a big boost because I think he's been fairly decent the last few games.
Yeah, I think he'd be tempted to put either Elder in right back and play him, as like an inverted wing back on the other side.
Play Greaves at
left back, or play Alfie Jones in right back and put Greaves in the middle. I don't know. I think
he's more likely to be the first one of those two.
Yeah, he's more likely to put Greaves in full back as we've seen throughout the season. I think Elder's, as much as we probably don't want him to play on the right hand side because he's been okay in left back lately. I just think that natural full back would be the logical way to go, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially for a whole game because of course Kyle lasted into the second half, didn't he? But then I thought Doherty maybe was at fault. He was out of position too high up the pitch for the second goal. So, I think he did do well with the assist later. So maybe there's a reason to put Doherty in the midfield and actually have Elder at right back because as we'll get onto with the combined lineup before the show started, Will and I were both discussing that Regan Slater isn't in the best form. So perhaps you drop him out and maybe have Doherty midfield and Elder at right back. Would you agree with that, Will?
I would probably think about having. I think the midfield needs to be. I think Tufan's made a shout for coming back into the midfield. To be honest,
well, he scored. Yeah, we did just spend 5 minutes talking about how good it was that he got a goal. So I guess he would deserve to start and capitalise on that confidence that he got from. I
think midfield will be the most interesting position, other than obviously the right back problem. I think midfield's the most interesting one to look out for because, like we say, Doc got the assist, but technically from right back. Then you've got Adama Traore, who played really well, but is
cannot drop him.
Start 2 in a row. Tufan, who didn't start, but he came on and scored, played really well. Then you've got Sari, who we know what Sari can do. You've got Simons. What does he go for? Because I don't think. On paper, form-wise, you'd probably have Seri, Traore and Tufan as a midfield three, but I think that's too lightweight. Logically, you're thinking it's either going to be Adama or Tufan. And I don't know. I don't know which way he'll go. Interesting. Yeah. Good dilemmas to have, though.
Definite options. Well, yeah, because they've had so many injuries, it's rare that we actually have 4 or 5 players trying to get into, that same position. I think maybe I would drop Slater because, he has been playing on the wing or in a more attacking position, and I don't think that's his best position. So I think it would be a bit unfair to say he's had a poor run of form because, he is out of position. But I think, with those other players in better form, perhaps. I drop him, but shall we just get on to it? No more variegating. Here's the combined lineup for Hull City and Reading. So we've got Oscar Estepinian up front. Of course, he scored against Coventry, and either it would be Zhao or Carroll or Long for Reading, and they were rubbish. Got Ebua on the left wing, although maybe he should be on the right. I don't really think that matters. Tom Ince is on the right wing because, of course, he's the top scorer for Reading. Tufan, Jeff Hendrick in midfield with Seri, Elder left back, Maka, Jones, and then I'm not even sure how to pronounce this Reading right back's name. Mbenge, I suppose, but he is one of the only fit right backs between the two clubs. And then Carl Darlow in goal. So
by default, he's in the team.
Exactly, by default. So I saw you giggling through that. Is that one of the worst ones yet?
Actually, it's one of your better ones.
Thank you. It doesn't really mean a lot because they are all terrible, to be fair. But I think that one's okay, and it's nice to have 8 Hull City players in that lineup. Sometimes recently, like when we I didn't bother with one for Burnley because it'd just be 11 Burnley players.
Wait, pull that back up.
Put it back up. Oh, it's so good. You want to see it again?
Why is
Here it
Ebioe not in? Ebioe, you put him on the left wing. Why have you put Ebioe on the left wing?
Well, I don't think wing position counts. I just forgot which wing he was on. Basically, it doesn't. Don't don't read into right wing, left wing, left back and right back. That's fine, but you know, I don't know. The thing is, he could play either wing because he put good crosses in and also had a few shots, so he could probably do either. But
this is where we find out. This is where we find out Jeff Hendrick's suspended.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he isn't, because then I look like a right prat. I'd have to put Slater in.
Yeah, because combined 11s are usually your saving graces every episode.
Yes, of course. But then one Hull City midfielder who has been playing quite well, who we've not really even mentioned for the whole podcast, is Xavier Simons, who today, just a few hours ago, was announced that he has signed on a permanent deal. So a signing in March, he'll be like a new signing. Well, I think that's astute business, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There's not really much more to say than that. We've finally seen him actually play a few games, so we know who we're getting.
It made sense. Him and Rossini have said in press conferences. Well, Rossini said he wants to keep him, and he himself has said he wants to stay here. So I think it was an inevitable move.
Yeah, you want players that want to be here. He's young, and he's obviously what I like about the transfer policy at the minute is we are looking at young players that have got bright futures. So you either got young players that are going to develop into really, really good first team players and bring us success, or you're going to have really good young players that eventually become a very sellable asset in the sense that they're going to recoup us a lot of money. So that kind of transfer policy is always going to be a win. I think from what we've seen of him, despite for the majority of the season wondering why we even had him on loan, and then he's come in and proven what he can do. I think it's an exciting signing to have, especially as Sari, as he gets more into his 30s with us, might become more injury prone. You've got an able-bodied replacement ready in Simons, and like we say, he wanted to be here, so. Anybody that wants to be part of the rebuild that we're doing here, then let's do it. I mean, was the fee undisclosed, or was it actually?
I don't suppose it'll be that much.
I know that it was worth noting that in the announcement for the transfer, there was a few bits from journos that were saying that it was intended to be done on deadline day, but it was actually Chelsea's deal.
It was. Enzo. It was meant to, the paperwork didn't get through on time on Chelsea's
all the staff were working out on getting the Fernandes deal through instead, which is understandable. It was 100 million.
That's their priority, isn't it, for Chelsea, not getting, Simons to us.
But poor Simons sat somewhere in Anlaby just thinking, I want to be here. Screw Enzo.
Well, he's now.
I mean, he was here anyway.
Yeah, I don't understand why they've announced it now, though, because if it had to be on deadline day...
They've agreed the deal. It's been confirmed they've agreed the deal. It just means it won't go through until the end of the season. It just means he isn't going to go back to Chelsea. He's going to stay here.
Well, I guess he has to go and, pack his bags, get some stuff from
home. He can do that next week on the international break.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's the international break after Reading, so I guess regardless of the result, maybe that momentum won't carry over, or if we we lose, it doesn't really matter. But do we think we're going to get some momentum from this Reading game, or what are our official match predictions?
I'll go for the 3-0 like I always do.
Yeah. Well, I think this game could potentially end 3-0 and not to Reading, because I think with the if we play as well as we did in the second half on the ball, creating the chances against Reading, who are in poor form, I think especially if we get an early goal, we could see City finally score a few goals. So I might go tighter than that, because I'm not really confident in some of our players finishing. So I might go a 1-0 City win. But what about you, Ant?
1-1. That's what I said on the
1-1.
Odd. I think it'll be one of the games where we're really frustrated. I think Reading will make it difficult for us. I think it'll be similar to what it was like at Stoke, where we go there and it's made really physical, and it's the kind of game that we don't want to be playing, and probably concede an awful set piece, and then be chasing the game and equalise late on, kind of thing. I'm expecting an Aliar goal though. I think he's on it this game. I think this is it.
I think that's one thing we have mentioned actually about the Burnley game is I think the reason we looked so good as well is because we were playing a team that when just being defensive, we were playing a team who were trying to also play a positive style of football, which allowed us to have the space to do it ourselves. And Reading are going to do that.
No, it's going to be like the away game where we had the ball for the entire time, and hopefully our set-piece defending, it has improved significantly because, of course, we conceded 2 there. So I don't think we're going to have the same problems. I think they've got worse and we've got better since that game, which, I wasn't happy with, the own goal at the end there. Can't remember who that was credited to be fair. But yeah,
I think if we score first, I think we could get 2 or 3.
There's been a few games like that, I think, this season where if we'd scored when we were on top, we might have gone on, and we've just not been able to.
I think a goal before the 20-minute mark, and we run away with it. But I think the longer the game goes on and it gets to a position where their fans are getting frustrated, the more it suits us. So we've kind of got quite a bit going in our favour because we either score early and then the game, becomes a bit more of what we want, and they've got to come at us, and it's a bit more open, or they get frustrated and like we're saying, forces errors and creates a bit of an atmosphere that their players don't want to play in. The only other alternative, obviously, is that Reading score early first, and then it creates a bit of a problem. But I've got belief in us at the minute. Completely different to what we was under Shota. That when the other team scores first, I'm like, that's okay, because I still feel like we're going to go and score. Whereas, under Shota, as soon as we conceded the first goal, it was like, well, let's get him over.
Death sentence, wasn't it? 1-0 in the first half, or really any point, because we really didn't.
Because even at 2-0 against Burnley, I was sat there and I was like, if we get the next goal, we can really go at them. It wasn't until obviously the third goal went in, we decided to just boot it into our own net, essentially. It really was hammered home that we were going to lose, but. Like I said, it's good to have that sort of mindset in games now where we're actually, still feel like we're in games all the time instead of within 20 minutes just thinking, what's the point?
Game over, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's a lovely mindset that we've got. And I really enjoy watching the clips from Rossini's evening with the fans. That's posted on YouTube, and he comes across so well. It's just nice to be... Yeah, it's just really lovely to have a really good manager who comes across really well in interviews, and has a very exciting attacking team. We've got lots of young players, and even though we did lose 3-1 at home, of course because it was Burnley, and I think we have a lot of things to be happy for as Hull fans at the moment, and lots of optimism going into a game perhaps we should win, and then another season with Rossini, a full season. Hopefully we can have a really good push next season.
People still managed to find, there was still people still managing to question Rossini on his tactics on that evening though.
Yeah, I mean, who'd be a manager? Because you get criticism all the time. It just seems
it's going to happen.
Such a difficult job.
I think what really made me realise that it's a normal thing is that when I went on the Burnley channel Turfcast, he was telling me that there's even some of their fans that don't like the fact they play out from the back. And they're 13 points clear at the top of the league.
Nearly 20 points clear in 3 games from promotion.
Well, they're just used to
clear at the top of the league, eyeing up the championship points record, and they still have fans that complain that they play out from the back. So it's always
Chris Wood.
So just own it and just let the players on the pitch do the talking, I suppose, and just like Rossini is not going to budge. It's the way he wants to play, and I think next season you'll see it even more. Because I think this season, fitness levels from the players haven't been up to the standard he wants. He wants us to play like
under his belt.
Yeah, I think the pre-season's so important, and player recruitment will be so important. And it's like, we need high energy players that are going to throw themselves on the line for 93 minutes. He wants to do with us what Company's doing with Burnley. He wants a team that press as a full 11, force issues for the entire game, and just basically choke out the other team with majority of possession. So it's really exciting what we could potentially do next season. Although we are setting ourselves up for spectacular failure,
Oh yeah,
it is nice to have that. We could be a phenomenal,
there's clearly some building.
Yeah.
There's a clear vision to the team and the club as well.
We have an identity, finally.
Yeah, and then another development was I don't think we're allowed to talk about it, so I'm not going to mention it.
What?
Nothing. What? Nothing at all. Nothing
the
at all.
rumor that is it going to be the rumor that we're signing with Kappa?
Oh yes, that rumor. So am I allowed to talk about that? Because of course, Ajahn is he's the owner of Kappa, isn't he? So of course that's for people who don't know what that is. It's the Umbro will be got rid of as the new shirt owner, and I think that's a bit of a shame because
interesting because it's not the end of Umbro's contract.
So they're intentionally getting rid of them, but it's another link to another company.
Obviously, it's just a rumor at the moment, Nathaniel. There's nothing official.
I think a few of us are going to have to go to the gym if we're getting Kappa because
that's the thing I'm not happy about.
Football.
Yeah. They're not the most flattering of shit. Even the footballers look a bit too, and these guys are ripped. No, the only quarrel I have with Kappa, I just don't like how their logo is put on millions of times. I don't like that down the side of a kit. But other than that, they've done some nice ones. The retro ones they did were really nice.
I mean, I'm not sure about that because when Umbro have those diamonds that go all the way down, that looks ace.
I didn't like them. I don't like.
There's something wrong with you.
I don't like them being too the manufacturer. I like them more plain and succinct. So I like them when it's just there, and then the rest of the kit is the club's identity, not the manufacturer all over the kit kind of thing. It reminds me of those obscure teams you find on FIFA from the J League that are just absolutely plastered in loads of different sponsors and advertisements. I don't like it.
They're wearing Mizuno kits.
Yeah.
Or any rugby shirt.
I liked it when Paddy Power did it with Huddersfield without the shirt sponsor. I like them not, quiet, a nice quiet kit, smart.
Yeah. Well, I think smart is a nice word to end on for today's episode. Thank you very much for everyone for listening and commenting and liking and all that lovely stuff. And still looking forward to the launch of our website. That's going to be happening very soon. We're going to have lots of exciting articles written by a whole host of people who may or may not even support Hull. It's that exciting that we've got people from all over. And I think we've got one Wigan fan who wants to sign for the prestigious website of To Hull and Back. So thanks again for listening.
You don't want to watch Wigan at the moment, that's why.
Well, yeah, and you can't blame him.
No, they're okay.
I think they are.
Anyway,
bottom of the league.
Sean Maloney in.
Yeah, I mean that. Well, we're not gonna, we're not a Wigan podcast. We're not gonna, talk about that too much. But I don't think that was the best managerial appointment, followed by another fairly, dodgy managerial appointment. So we'll see you all again next week, hopefully after a fantastic 3-0 win against Reading. So, ta-ra.